The protagonist of our story, Lin Tian, is reincarnated as a ghost, the lowest rank of magical creatures. And initially he has to live in hiding. Later he uncovers the true nature of the ghost. With the blessings of the gods and the order, the more children he has, the more powerful he will become. Our story begins in a dimly lit cave where the demons we hate crawl around. They are celebrating the death of their chief. With the death of the leader comes the opportunity to grab his weapons and other positions. The big ghost lying on the ground was the chief of those ghosts, and the small ghosts trying to plunder his body are brainless. They are also unable to understand who will take that wooden staff. The two small ghosts decided who will become the chief, and they had only one way to decide this, and that was to fight. The one who survives is the best. If you see ghosts fighting, close your eyes because they are extremely cruel. They will scratch, bite, and use every dirty way to defeat each other. As for the rest of the ghosts, they naturally support violence. They will form a circle and encourage the fighters to finish each other off. One of the ghosts in the audience remembered that the leader had left some untouched prey inside the cave. Now that the prey officially has no owner, they can take it for themselves. But there is a problem with this plan. There is a man guarding the fierce prey. The man they are talking about is going to go back to guard the prey's place. This man is a ghost, but not like the other ghosts. As he walks towards prey, the rest of the ghosts look at him with disdain and hatred. Everyone knows him as the guardian of prey, a hideous creature who disguises himself as a human. Some ghosts think he is keeping prey just for himself, so everyone thought so. Just keep following the guard until he reaches prey. But some smarter ghosts wanted to wait a little longer, as some ghosts had already gone inside the cave to find prey. They were very tough ghosts. When the fight starts, these smart and cautious ghosts jump in between. Of course, the outcast ghosts had heard everything these scoundrels were saying behind his back. Just then he heard screams from inside the cave and a woman's desperate call for help. This forced the outcast to run as fast as he could. As soon as he saw the entrance to the chief's room, the call for help grew louder. The outcast ran the fastest he had ever run and entered the dark room. Prey was fighting for her life, and the ghosts had her pinned to the ground. She didn't want to give birth to the ghost's children. The evil ghost and prey saw the outcast coming at the same time. The woman started crying even more desperately and begging for help, while the hot breath and dirty hands of the ghosts were touching her body. The outcast begged the evil ghosts to let him go, but to no avail. The room was littered with the bones of all kinds of creatures. Freak, the biggest ghost in the room, stood in front of Outcast and was claiming that after the death of the chief, prey was now his. If Freak disagreed and dared to take his prey, he could die at the hands of these thug ghosts. 3 ghosts stepped forward to attack him. They were clumsy, but they had the advantage of numbers. Dodging was the only option. Outcast couldn't believe that these low-level ghosts were giving him so much trouble. The clumsy ones were scratching his skin, tearing his cloak. But Outcast gritted his teeth and stood firm. He couldn't die here. His journey had just begun. He had to stay alive. His desperation made the ghost's blood spill on the ground. As soon as the first ghost was killed, these scoundrels are only tough when they think they can overpower the enemy. But when faced with real danger, they give up 100%. That's what's happening now. They were proudly claiming that prey was theirs, but the first glimpse of the weapon forced them to run away to save their miserable lives. Mr. Outcast heaved a sigh of relief. His adrenaline was at its peak. The girl came up to him and asked if he was okay and thanked him for saving her again. Unlike other ghosts, Mr. Outcast had never even raised a hand on her. He would even risk his own life to save her again. The girl didn't want anything to happen to him or get hurt because he wasn't like other ghosts. The girl said so, and it has always been like that. Mr. Outcast was also once a human. He opened his eyes for the first time in the same miserable room where prey was hiding. He didn't expect that after getting hit by a dump truck, instead of meeting God, he would be reborn in a different world with a system. Although he has an OP system, it hasn't been fully activated yet. The system doesn't seem to have any useful function other than checking some of his stats. However, he has not been sitting idle for the past few days. He has been talking to this female prey for a long time, and the stories and facts she has told him have given Mr. Outcast some understanding of this mysterious world. Unlike the world he lived in before, this realm created by God is home to many powerful races, creatures and monsters such as majestic dragons and insidious demons. Humans have left their mark on this warring continent with their fierce strength. As for the ghost race he has been reborn into, they are seen as the weakest and dirtiest monsters in reality. This is reflected in his low stats. Even among the ghosts living in this cave, he is in the lowest percentage in raw power. Mr. Outcast's name is Lin Tian, and he is a 5th-level ghost with God's blessing. He has no class and his stats are very poor. He has 1 racial skill, Gene Devourer, and a rough stone knife. His total combat power is only 30 points. Over the past few days, she has learned that the surest way to become strong as a ghost is to spend your life robbing and snatching. But Lin used to be a man of the modern world, and he would never allow himself to do such disgusting things. The girls saw him sitting sadly in a corner and told him not to worry. After being together for so many days, she had started to understand his feelings. Now Lin Anton is different, and he does not want to live among these disgusting ghosts. One look into his pitiful eyes made it clear that the girl's guess was absolutely correct. She assured him that when the night order comes to rescue him, she will tell the soldiers that Lin saved his life. Now that he thought about it, it didn't seem like such a bad idea, did it? The girl had indeed come up with a great idea. Even though she hadn't activated her system yet, they just had to wait for the humans to find the lair and rescue the girl and take her under protection. Lin had to stay alive first and then slowly activate the system and figure out how it worked. Before all of that could happen, they had to fight off a few bad guys as the rest of the ghosts might discover Prey's secret hideout. Now that the ghosts were coming back to rob again, Lin quickly told the pink-haired woman to hide in her designated hiding spot, which was behind the rocks. She saw Lin take out her rough stone knife. A desperate gore ghost was running away from the humans and looking for someone he could mate with so he could become stronger and not get killed. Thankfully, his desperate and streetwise actions were easy to predict, and Lin Tian quickly slit the gore ghost's throat. At least now they knew that some humans had entered the lair. These people probably came to rescue the girl. She immediately got up and ran towards Kevin's exit, hoping that the powerful Holy Order's rescue team would come to save her. Lin Tian followed her. When they arrived at the place where the action was going on, the two saw a knight wearing heavy armor and a magnificent cloak cutting down several ghosts with a single sword strike. Lin Tian didn't know whether he should feel scared or relieved seeing such a powerful human. Loader is a level 25 human swordsman with a lot of stats. His skills include Sword She/Sword Dance and the sacred skill Sword Return to Heaven. He is equipped with the Judgment Sword and Platinum Armor, and his total combat power is 400 points. Compared to Lin Tian's 30 points, the difference is amazing. This is the first time he has seen such high attributes when he came to this world. Is Loader really human? The girl ran towards the knight without hesitation, smiled, shook his hand, and called him commander. Meanwhile, Lin Tian looked at the dead ghosts scattered across the area. Then he looked up and saw something even more strange and frightening. The knight had raised his justice sword as if he was about to kill the captive whom Lin Tian had been protecting for several days. The little outcast ghost used all her strength to push the girl away from the direction of the sword. They both fell awkwardly to one side. It's better to suffer the pain of falling to the ground than to be cut by pitch, right? Lin Tian was confused and scared. These people are here for a rescue operation, right? Then why are they using their sword on themselves? Maybe they mistook the girl for a ghost because of the darkness in the cave. The loader looked at the victims who shamefully survived his attack. The girl tried to appeal to the commander. She introduced herself as Kelia, but Scum Knight told her to keep quiet. Of course, he already knew it was the same girl. But Loader thought the ghost must have already defiled her. He thinks she is probably carrying the ghost's little evil child now. He thinks it is a joke from an honorable knight to expect mercy from a filthy thing. He fearlessly asked the poor girl to repent her sins in front of the great Holy Mother. Kelia felt scared and helpless. She pleaded, pulling at the commander's cloak. She insisted that yes, she was captured, but the ghosts did not defile her. She pointed to Lin Tian and said that this brave little ghost had saved her, who kept her safe from the rest of the lair. Loader mocked her explanation. He said that if you have to make up stories, at least make them believable. No fool would believe that a ghost protected Kelia. But now she might meet her end with these vile and disgusting creatures. Lin Tian couldn't believe his eyes. Is this really the morality of humans in this world? Something was forcing him to walk and run. He grabbed Kelia and ran towards the exit on the other side of the cave to escape the situation. Using a simple wooden stick, he intended to strike Loader's justice sword, hoping to buy some time. He had not expected this result at all. But just as the knight's sword was about to cut him in two, a mysterious glow spread across the room and illuminated the entire area. An angel's voice told Loader to stop, and the knight obeyed, halting his attacks and falling silent. Meanwhile, Lin Tian was surrounded by a golden light in fear. A blonde woman, wearing a sacred veil and wielding golden magic, was surrounded by heavily armored soldiers. He sensed something strange about Lin Tian. Kalia called the angel woman the Holy Maiden. She crawled towards the Holy Maiden with expectant eyes. The Holy Maiden accepted her with open arms and picked her up and handed her over to Commander Loader. Then she turned her attention to the ghost, who was surrounded by her golden magic. She asked if he could understand her words. From what Lin Tian knows, this woman's name is Holy Maiden Afra, who is the spokesperson for the temple that Kalia told him about. She may be his only hope if he is to get out of this place. Lin Tian stands up and confirms the Holy Maiden's identity. He claims that he is not a demon from this world and that he used to be a human. He just became a ghost due to a strange accident. He says that if the Holy Order takes him along, he can explain everything in detail. Loader had to admit that this little ghost seemed much smarter than the other ghosts he had killed. Intelligent ghosts are very rare. Afra also said that ghosts are usually stupid and lowly creatures who cannot speak or think fluently. With this in mind, this little ghost may be a gift from the Holy Mother. The Holy Maiden gently looked at Kalia and confirmed if this ghost was really harmless. The girl campaigned for Lin Tian with all her might, saying that not only did he not harm her, but he also protected her from other ghosts and arranged food for her. Afra smiled and decided that since this little ghost was so special, they could take it to the city. But some studies would have to be done before making a final decision. She looked at Lin Tian and asked if he agreed to this arrangement. Lin Tian had no other choice. He trusted the Holy Maiden, but just then a perverted, smug smile appeared on the Holy Maiden's face. Lin Tian heard the sound of the blade entering the skin and the flashing. He saw human blood suddenly spill on the floor. Loader had stabbed Kelia in the stomach. As Lin Tian turned around, he saw the girl who had spent so many days hoping to be rescued, falling into the hands of her fellow humans. Loader stabbed her again. Perhaps he thought Kelia was carrying a child or a ghost. Lin Tian was speechless and stunned to see this disgusting scene. Lin Tian heard the sound of blades penetrating skin and flashing. He saw human blood suddenly spill onto the floor. Loader had stabbed Kelia in the stomach. As Lin Tian turned around, he saw the girl who had spent so many days hoping for rescue, falling into the hands of her fellow humans. Loader stabbed her again. Perhaps he thought Kelia was carrying a baby or a ghost. Lin Tian was speechless and stunned at this disgusting sight. Then he heard a Fran's divine voice demanding that Lin Tian repay him handsomely when he reached town. He had never heard anything more demonic in his life. 1 week later, under the clear blue skies of a peaceful town, the plaza bell was ringing, drawing the attention of the townspeople. A stage had been erected in the town square, where Loder, commander of the Holy Order, was giving a passionate speech to the villagers. She addressed the children of God and stated how much damage the previous Goblin raids had caused to Bright Town. The Goblins had killed 30 residents of Bright Town in a snipe attack, an unforgivable event that challenged the authority of the Holy Order. Upon hearing this, the townspeople again realized their helplessness and anger against the Goblins. They demanded blood for blood and an eye for an eye. Humans and Goblins have always been enemies. The Holy Maiden came forward and urged the people to continue praying for the temple and devote themselves completely to the temple. Her divine presence provided the townspeople with a symbol of hope and purity, as she promised the temple would always protect its devout followers. The townspeople happily accepted this act and mocked the knights and the temple. Meanwhile, the atmosphere in the Holy Maiden's quarters was gloomy, not befitting her status and representation. Looking at an esoteric text that contained some strange diagrams and magical scripts, she heaved a sigh of relief at the success of today's preaching. People were just as stupid as before. Holding a red vial of liquid, Afra in her casual attire was happy that the townspeople would now pray even more devoutly to the temple and pay more tribute to her cause. She was not talking to herself as someone had been imprisoned in her quarters for a week. The sound of her captive ruined all the fun of her otherwise successful preaching venture. Earlier, Lin Tian was tied up. He was silenced by placing a metal mask over his mouth, tortured in every possible way. His left eye was gouged out, and he was treated in the most inhumane way possible in the name of humanity. Hanging on the wall, he was staring angrily through his bloodshot eye at the witch who had put him in this hell. Freya looked at him with complete indifference. The fact that the ghost was still alive was proof of its strong vitality. No wonder the temple was unable to eliminate these annoying ghosts from the continent. Now that he had some time, he thought of observing the effect of the poison on the ghosts. Lin Tian felt disgusted deep inside after hearing her divine voice say such dirty things. He screamed in anger and accused Afra of betraying him. Just like she had caused everyone in Bright Town to suffer, she even killed an innocent survivor like Kilia. This is their so-called holy order. This is their so-called human justice. The result of speaking against the Holy Maiden was that a wooden stick was put in Lin Tian's mouth, causing Lin Tian to spit out blood. Afra found it strange how a weak, worthless creature like Lin Tian, a lustful ghost, could dare to question her human justice. In her eyes, this little ghost had fascinated Kilia. For a girl to speak for a mere ghost was a betrayal of humanity and the Holy Order. Her death was her final loyalty. The Holy Maiden was already convinced that the ghosts on this continent were nothing but insects. They were a race that was useless and only brought misery. For a Holy Maiden to speak to a ghost was a great favor in itself. She thought Lin Tian should be more appreciative instead of being filled with hatred. He should have used his small and slimy body to contribute to the experiments of humans and the Holy Order. Afra's hand glowed with golden glow and a magic circle appeared behind Lin Tian. The magic fire brought him unbearable pain. The magic fire burned his hatred and made him completely despondent. Lin Tian asked himself, is this the end? Is he about to die such a pitiful death? Maybe it was his fault that he was so stupid. He had been reincarnated from a human to become a low-level ghost. But he still held on to his human compassion, believing that the Holy Order was truly righteous and kind. His weakness and naivety were his biggest mistakes, which brought him to the Holy Maiden's torture. After being brought back to the human village in Bright Town, Loder and Afra tortured him in every possible way, toying with him. No matter how much he pleaded, they never believed him. Eventually, Lin Tian couldn't live much longer and died at the hands of a cruel bitch and her corrupt inclinations. His second death was extremely painful. It was the worst way to die. If he got another chance, he swore he would never trust humans again. If he got another chance, he would do it the right way. The goblin Lin Tian would grind their bones and drain their blood. He would make them suffer as much as they make him suffer, pushing him to the brink of insanity. But well, all of this could only happen if he could live again. Lin Tian opened his bloodshot eyes in confusion. He looked left and right and felt alive. How was he alive, and where was he after all these painful and twisted experiments? To answer his question, the system immediately appeared and told him that the Goblin life simulation system had been activated. The final evaluation of this was that his death was due to his stupidity. He had forgotten that he was a goblin, but it seemed that he would be born again as the lowest creature, a common goblin. Confused, he asked the system what his choice of yes and no represented. The system immediately replied that if he chose no, his soul would be destroyed. A permanent death. If he chose yes, he would retain his current memory and systems, and he would be sent back to the Goblin Cave a week before his death. All these parameters seemed a bit confusing to Lin Tian at first, but he slowly understood everything. With a perverted smile, he thought that this was the universe's way of giving him a second chance to take revenge. He had to take revenge for every sick and perverted thing that Loder and Afraya did to him. Without hesitation, he chose the option that would allow him to go back in time and change his decisions. Now, only one thing was fueling him: the fire of revenge. From now on, his goblin life would start from point 2, and he would no longer be a good guy. The void around him slowly turned into a digital mess as his body began to move into the Goblin Cave. When the process was complete, the system gave him some help so that he could survive this second reincarnation. The system had strengthened him a little. Lin Tian looked at his hands and felt a little lighter and stronger. The increase was minimal, just as the system said, but it was much better than nothing. The system warned him that even though he was reborn, the danger was not over yet. At this time, the Holy Order was almost about to reach his location. If he died again, the system would not be able to revive him. Lin Tian already knew this. Now he had to think about how to deal with the arrival of the Holy Order. Now he couldn't let his guard down at all. First, he asked the system what he could do. The system was called the Goblin Life Simulation System. It gives him the ability to simulate his life so that he can predict future events. Every decision he makes will have different consequences. Each simulation will last for 24 hours. After that, he will get points that he can exchange for items. Seeing the future through simulations was no small matter. Lin Tian thought this feature might come in handy. He opened the prompt and quickly started his first life simulation. His mission in the current scenario was to escape from the Goblin Cave, as the Holy Knight Loder had discovered the Goblin Lair. Now Lin Tian had to make a choice. The first option was to warn his fellow goblins and join forces to confront Loder, Afra, and their men. This would give him 10 points. The second option was to leave the rest of the ghosts and run away before they were all killed. This would give him 5 points. The third and final option was to hide in the cave and pray that Loder and the Holy Order would not find him. This option would give him 0 points. Lin Tian took some time and considered all the options carefully. Although he was given 3 options, some were hopeless. He knew that no matter how many ghosts fought together, they could not compete with Loder's demonic power. Running away was the only way he could escape. But with the help of the system, he could simulate the first option, which would give him the most points. If he could exchange those points for a weapon, he could defeat them by sneak attacking. Just as he thought, the simulation ended with his death. He was able to successfully lead the ghosts in a desperate battle against the Holy Knight Loder. But the huge difference in strength would wipe out all the ghosts. The system advised him to make important decisions according to his strength, so it was confirmed that relying on ghosts was not a viable way to survive. But he still got 10 points from the simulation. Excited, he immediately opened the point exchange shop. He saw a projection of several weapons he could buy. Unfortunately, most of the weapons cost hundreds or even thousands of points, but Lin Tian only had 10 points, which was not enough at all. At least he found a dagger that cost exactly 10 points. It was an elven lightweight swift blade, a dagger crafted by the elves, delicate but incredibly sharp. He immediately bought it and equipped the blade. It increased his strength by 15 points and his speed by 10%. It was indeed exceptionally fast. Unlike the rough ghost weapons, it could kill in a single strike if it hit the right spot. After all of that was over, Lin Tian had one more question from the system. He was sent back a week ago, but he couldn't see any trace of Kalia anywhere in the cave. Where did she go? The system explained that some timeline details had changed due to Lin Tian's reincarnation. She wouldn't have to go through the trauma of being held captive by ghosts and dying at the hands of her rescuers. A slight smile appeared on Lin Tian's face. Somehow, he felt that he had fulfilled his promise. He had no worries now. There was no need to back down against the Holy Order. But first, he had to run and survive. He found the safest way out of the cave. The entrance to that way was small. Therefore, the guards there should also be relatively weak. Lin Tian hid near the cave entrance and saw 2 guards. They were talking to each other about how disgusting ghosts were and how easy this task would be. Lin Tian hid near the cave entrance and saw 2 guards. They were talking about how disgusting ghosts were and how easy it would be. He spent some time thinking about how to deal with this problem. The guards were happy to be posted at the small entrance. Any ghost that tried to escape would be crushed with just a blow of a hammer. But they must not have forgotten that Lord Loder had ordered them to kill any girl who tried to escape in the chaos. They were not to let any survivors reach the village. Lin Tian was enraged upon hearing this. Forget about ghosts. This holy order and their sacred rule would kill their own people for no reason. He had no choice now. He had to defeat these guards and get out. He made a plan and raised his voice while pinching his nose a bit. Then she acted like she was a girl from Bright Town asking for help to escape the ghosts. The guards were happy that they finally had a chance to take some action. All they had to do was kill this stray person and Lord Loder would reward them. They slowly walked towards the cave entrance with a hidden blade and a fake bright smile. The guard told the fake survivor to come out and not be afraid because the knights had arrived. But he hadn't even finished his decisive speech when a shower of blood spread on the cave walls. Lin Tian came out with the eyes of a ruthless killer. His new blade had the blood of his first victim on it. Now the slaughter was about to begin. The other guard looked at his dead partner in surprise. That guard started shaking. He was confused why it was taking him so long to kill such a weak ghost. He walked towards him. The guard couldn't believe that a ghost could defeat him so easily. But his thoughts were interrupted by a sharp pain that prevented him from thinking clearly. He couldn't stay on his feet and fell to the ground with a painful scream. Raising his frightened eyes, he saw the ghost he and his friend were about to kill a few minutes ago. But now the situation had completely changed. He started thinking that the ghost standing in front of him was a demon, and he was partially right. Thinking that maybe the ghost would understand him by some miracle, the man started praying to him not to kill him. It was the only thing he could do at the moment. He showed Lin Tian a medallion depicting a woman and child and said that his wife and daughter were waiting for him to return. This was quite ironic for our hero, considering that this same man had no hesitation in killing him just a few minutes ago. And now he was expecting mercy from him. The knight kept justifying himself, saying that he was just following the orders of the Holy Order. He promised that if our hero would let him go, he would bring him a bag of gold coins and a human girl. The guard tried his best to convince Lin Tian, but he did not realize that Lin Tian did not care about him at all. In his short life in this corrupt world, our hero had become completely disillusioned with humans. The order guard thought he could fool him with his promises and fake smile, but Lin Tian could clearly see the knife hidden in his hand. Unfortunately, the guard never realized this because he thought Lin Tian was just a mindless ghost. The guard took out the knife and pounced on Lin Tian with a strange laugh, but the next moment blood was sprayed. But that blood was not Lin Tian's. Only one of them was brainless, and now he was headless too. The guards, the broken medallion, and the dagger he never got the time to use lay on the ground. Finally, everything was over. After this battle, Lin Tian was even more convinced that he should not trust anyone, especially humans. Suddenly, some noise and bright light came from the depths of the forest, indicating that Saint Maiden and Loder were nearby. Lin Tian was not in a position to face them yet. He needed some time to get stronger. Picking up the shirt of one of the guards, Lin Tian left. He promised himself that he would meet Loder and Afra again, and then they would have to pay for all the pain they had caused him. Afra and Loder reached the place where the bodies of the two guards were lying. Looking at the bodies, Loder did not understand what had happened here. Usually 2 guards could easily fend off 24 ghosts, but this case was different. If a creature could defeat these 2 armored warriors, it was most likely a mutant ghost. These were the creatures that caused the most problems for the Holy Order. Letting such a creature escape could cause even more trouble in the future. Loder and Afra knew this. Loder kicked the guard's corpse as he considered him worthless trash who couldn't even handle a mutated ghost. Afra, on the other hand, became extremely excited and distraught upon hearing this mutated ghost. Her unhealthy tendencies started to come out, and she remembered the days when she had a lot of fun with the mutated intelligent ghost. She was eager to have an interesting toy to play with again. By evening, Lin Tian had traveled a long way out of Afra and Loder's reach. After a long and tiring journey, he decided to take a break to regain his strength. His primary goal was revenge. He wanted to pay back the Order for how they treated him. Ghosts can improve their attributes by mating and devouring. By improving their attributes and producing offspring, they can create a stronger generation and expand their power. By putting this plan into action and making himself stronger, Lin Tian thought he would make every human in the world live in fear of death and make every woman fall at his feet. Suddenly, his thoughts were interrupted by a rustling sound from the bushes behind. Lin Tian immediately became alert as the Holy Order was still following him in search of him. As soon as he saw a shadow hidden in clothes, he attacked without thinking. Attacking the enemy first and surprising them is always a good idea. His strategy worked. The stranger was really shocked by his sudden appearance. He was so scared that he stumbled and fell to the ground. However, Lin Tian was wrong about one thing. The stranger standing in front of him was a ghost, and his behavior showed that he had no ill intentions. Our hero was a bit surprised by this turn of events, but he quickly composed himself and became cautious. Due to his experience of betrayal, he was not going to trust someone so easily. But the next moment, all his caution turned into surprise when he saw the picture in front of him. A beautiful ghost girl was lying on the ground in front of him and looking at him with her scared eyes. Lin Tian was a bit surprised, as he had heard that ghosts are only males. But the innocent girl standing in front of him was clearly a girl. After regaining her composure, the ghost girl timidly requested Lin Tian not to hurt her. She had only come here to get water. Our hero was even more surprised to see that the ghost girl was speaking clearly and in complete sentences. But when he checked her status window, everything became clear. According to the system, the girl was a level 3 ghost girl. Her profession said that she was a god messenger, which explains her abnormality. Her skills were devouring and extreme growth. But what caught Lin Tian's attention the most was that if a male ghost combined with a female ghost girl, the male ghost could become a great ghost god. This information made our hero think. Becoming a ghost god means being very powerful, and that's what he wanted. He didn't want to lose such a good opportunity. The scared ghost girl took Lin Tian's gaze as a threat and begged him to let her go again. She said that if she didn't bring water to the village, the tribe leader would kill her. Realizing his mistake, Lin Tian apologized and tried to calm her down. He gently rubbed her shoulder and told her that he wouldn't hurt her. He couldn't let her cry as it would attract unnecessary attention. Fortunately, the girl actually calmed down and didn't look as scared as before. She slowly walked up to Lin Tian and excitedly asked if she could talk, to which he nodded affirmatively. By nature, ghosts can't talk properly, so the girl had a hard time communicating with people from her clan. Lin Tian's kindness and care surprised the girl greatly, as the other ghosts from her clan would only beat and scold her. She enjoyed being with Lin Tian so much that she offered him a ride back to his clan. Hearing about the clan, Lin Tian started asking her about it, as she still didn't have a concrete plan to escape the pursuit of the Holy Order. The best solution was to hide in a village of ghosts where he could mingle with others. The sudden change in our hero's behavior confused the girl a little, but looking into his glowing eyes, she nevertheless agreed to take him to the village. A sly smile appeared on our hero's face. He had long wondered where he would find his subordinates. Fortunately, the opportunity presented itself. As soon as they arrived at the village, armed ghosts came out of the tents. They immediately surrounded this uninvited guest. Like the other ghosts, they were also surprised to see Lin Dian dressed like humans. This was a novelty for them, as they had never seen such strange ghosts before. At the same time, our hero was assessing their numbers and was pleased to see that he had found such a large village. Now he could start winning their trust. He asked for permission to join the village and meet the boss. The ghosts did not like such a request at all. A stranger came into their house asking them for something. Instead, they decided to grab this innocent boy and beat him up, and then take him to the boss. Suddenly, the ghost girl asked them to stop and requested them not to attack the important guest until she meets the boss. This move postponed the fight for a while, but spoiled all the plans. The boss himself heard the noise and came out to see what was going on. All the other ghosts went silent as the boss arrived and our hero tensed up. The boss was not in the mood to be woken up at all. Lin Tian was right to be tensed. The boss was level 25 and had some great weapons, as well as an impressive set of skills. Our hero was surprised that the boss of this village was so powerful. Sadly, he would have to defeat the boss so he could take his place and speed up his progress by taking control of the ghost gang. The chieftain of the ghosts asked who she was, to which the ghost girl explained that she had brought the lion as she had no other place to go. The chieftain accepted the explanation as it was, but it was clear that his satisfaction would not last long. Without hesitation, he ordered to kill the outsider and eat his flesh. There was frenzied celebration in the tribe, and Lin took out his knife. He had to think of something quickly to escape from here. A viable idea came to his mind. He offered his skills, saying that he would make a new weapon that would increase the strength of the tribe. The chieftain's bloodlust subsided a bit after hearing this interesting proposal. He ordered the ghosts to stop, and the ghost priest started coming towards Lin. The chieftain's bloodlust subsided a bit after hearing this interesting proposal. He ordered the ghosts to stop, and the ghost priest started coming towards Lin. Looking him over from head to toe, the chief asked what kind of weapons Lin could make, while he found no deceiving skills in the young ghost. Lin had spent hours watching blacksmithing programs in his previous world, so he was confident that he could make simple tools and better weapons if he could find iron ore and a little time. The chief could communicate in human language, so it was reasonable that higher demons would be more intelligent. Lin suggested that with iron tools the tribe would not have to fear humans. The idea was too tempting for the chief to refuse. He accepted Lin Tian's offer and gave him 3 days to find more and show results, or he would be killed after 3 days. The chief also threatened that if Lin failed, the ghost girl would die as well. As the leader went to his quarters, the rest of the tribe followed him. One thing was clear: the old chief was a ruthless villain who could kill his own people without hesitation. Confronting him directly was not an option. Lin had to make iron tools to buy time until she could strengthen them secretly. That night, a scouting party was sent into the forest. The scouting party included a ghost girl, and they had been marching continuously day and night. Exhaustion was inevitable. But as soon as the ghost girl showed even the slightest fatigue, the other ghosts scolded her and attacked her physically, as if she was just a punching bag. They considered her to be less than an average male ghost. But then one ghost was hit on the head by a stone thrown from behind. Lin clarified that they were only looking for iron ore and not engaging in pointless fighting. She gave them details of the ore and told the search party that if they wanted to survive, they had to find at least one piece of ore in the valley, and the consequences would be severe if they did not meet the requirement. As soon as Lin brandished his iron knife, the ghosts were frightened and quickly sprang into action. They started running around to find the ore and avoid the chief's blow. Lin Tian knew that his current efforts were only a temporary solution. He knew that once it outlived its usefulness, his life would be in danger. But he could see a clear way out. The system indicated that if he mated with the ghost girl, he could attain the status of the legendary ghost god. Thinking of this, Lin walked up to the crying ghost girl and gently told her to stop crying. He knelt down next to her so that she could hear him clearly and proposed that they should live together. He promised that as long as she stayed with him, no one would be able to harm her. She would have food, a warm shelter, and the peace she desperately needed. Lin said that he was a man of his word, but right now both of them were very weak and anyone could defeat them. Both of them had to become stronger. Hope was clearly visible in the ghost girl's eyes when she heard about gaining power. Lin asked her directly without beating around the bush if she would like to bear his children in exchange for power. The girl's hesitant reaction was expected, as she had never participated in such a ritual. But seeing Lin's kind and good nature, her curiosity increased and she wanted to explore this possibility. She didn't reply further. Lin gave her a deep, electrifying kiss. But what happened after that is something I can't explain in detail on YouTube. You'll understand by now, ha ha ha. Due to the limitations of the talent, Lin's abilities were limited to only 9 attacks, 100 GP and 10 defense points. Lin was completely drenched in sweat after his efforts. Lin had now reached the 7th level and received the title of Defiler, which increased his overall combat power to 65. Not only did his level increase, but his form also improved significantly. He now had a better chance of defeating the Ghost Priest Chief. Lin picked up his human clothes and gently placed them on the ghost girl's body. From now on, it was Lin's responsibility to protect her. The girl was simply relieved that a fellow ghost was showing kindness to her. Their romantic evening was suddenly ruined by a frantic voice calling for help. It turned out that a troublesome ghost had accidentally provoked a dangerous demon wolf while collecting ore. Lin had his eye on the iron ore, which is exactly what they needed. But the careless ghost had caused trouble for everyone. Drawing out his blade, Lin sawed off the giant wolf while the ghost girl looked on worriedly. The ghost who had foolishly provoked a ferocious beast was now facing the consequences. Luckily, Lin was now strong and fast enough to handle serious damage and quickly plunged his blade into the wolf's neck. It was a decisive one hit that silenced the fleeing ghost. Lin rushed over to the ghost, holding the ore, and raised his voice to scare the creature into handing over the material to him. The ghost, trembling in fear, had no choice. Inspecting the ore, Lin confirmed its excellent quality. If he could find more of it, it would be much easier to create powerful weapons. The next morning, smoke from the Goblin camp could be seen rising above the forest. Lin had made an iron spear from the same ore he had collected during the night. And now he was proudly showing off his creation to the astonished goblins. The iron spear easily pierced the demonic wolf's skin and skull, something that stone or bone spears could never do. Even the goblin master was speechless at the quality of Lin's weapon. Lin removed the spear from the wolf's head and smilingly explained to the goblins that the iron spear was his own work. Lin had just made an extra head from iron and was proudly showing off his creation to the astonished goblins. The Goblin Chief's eyes immediately lit up with a desire to have one. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Lin raised the spear high, drawing the attention of every goblin to it as they stared at the weapon in fascination. Lin asked if they all wanted a similar spear. Obviously, everyone said yes and requested him to make additional spears. The ghosts looked at the iron spear and their mouths fell open and eyes filled with longing. To them, a simple iron spear was like a legendary artifact. But Lin winning the respect of the ghost tribe did not go well with the ghost priest, who now stood there with a sad expression. The ghost master quickly planned to use Lin to his advantage and then eliminate him as a potential threat to his power. The ghost master quickly caught the attention of the tribe and publicly acknowledged that Lin could indeed make iron weapons, and his words seemed true. But this acceptance was not an endorsement. To prove his worth and secure his place, Lin had to make 50 spears in 2 days, and this was no easy task. If he failed, he would become the tribe's prey. Even the normal ghosts were shocked by the extreme cruelty of their leader, who had somehow become as ruthless and cunning as humans. But they were willing to help Lin meet the chieftain's demands. Lin looked at the departing chieftain and couldn't help but smile, knowing that everything was going according to his plan. The chieftain should have killed him earlier, and that turned out to be his biggest mistake, as he was now as powerful as him. 2 days later, the time came when he had to deliver the spears. To everyone's delight and the chieftain's disappointed surprise, Lin Tian completed his task and dropped a whole basket full of iron-tipped spears on the ground. When Lin Tian told the chieftain that he had given him what he asked for, the surrounding goblins shouted in excitement. The goblins congratulated the hero for completing the task with an exaggerated smile. In a few moments, every goblins in the camp were given an iron spear, signaling the start of the celebration. The goblins lit a bonfire, and the chieftain invited everyone to join the feast, where they could celebrate Lin Tian's joining the clan and eat meat to their heart's content. He roasted a freshly caught fat boar. The largest portion was reserved for Lin Tian, and the goblin girl herself presented this special gift to him. Having tasted good meat after a long time, Lin Tian began to eat eagerly, but after the first bite, he realized that it was a trap. The meat was laced with poison. He fell to the ground and tried to spit out the poisoned food. But it was too late. The stupid ghost girl had unknowingly served him poisoned meat, and now he was trying to understand what was going on. At that moment, the mastermind of the whole plan, the ghost priest, appeared. He wasted no time mocking our hero's stupidity and laughing at him, saying that he thought he was smart and powerful enough to challenge the chief and take control of the tribe. The ghost master warned him that all his efforts would be in vain, as death awaited him on this path. As punishment for his audacity, Lin Tian would lose everything he loved most, including the ugly ghost girl he respected so much. She would be the first to be punished for her betrayal. He cut her with his sharp claws, indicating what his intentions were. After disarming Lin Tian, the goblin leader would have continued his taunting, but then blood started gushing out everywhere, and the goblin girl's face turned white in shock, seeing that what was happening was true. Could she really die like that? But the blood wasn't hers, and the goblin chief's severed arm was proof of that. The goblin boss didn't get a chance to finish his threads and was simply wasting his time, giving Lin Tian time to recover from the poison. Or rather, stop pretending, because this was part of his plan. Now the goblin chief was holding his badly wounded arm. He couldn't understand how everything went so wrong. Lin Tian just laughed at the idiot. The real idiot here was the goblin chief. Through the system, Lin Tian knew what the chieftain was planning and made this move to weaken his defenses. The scene was perfectly arranged. The goblin chief silently bowed his head. His body was completely still, as if considering surrender, but this impression was deceptive. He quickly used one of his priest spells, transforming his bone stick into a weapon. The unbalanced chieftain was left exposed, and Lin Tian used his strength to take advantage of this opportunity and landed a decisive blow to his neck. The chieftain's head fell to the ground, and the rest of the goblins were horrified to see Lin Tian, thinking that they might suffer the same fate as their former leader. However, our hero had no intention of killing them. Hating to the center of the village, Lin Tian loudly announced that he was now the new leader. He said that he would lead the goblins to glory and wealth and attack humans and elves. There would be no shortage of meat and women, and no one would underestimate the goblins or stand in their way. Delighted, the entire goblin clan joined in the celebration, dancing and shouting that Lin Tian was the greatest leader of all time, who would lead them to a life of bliss and eternal flesh. To validate his claims, Lin Tian pointed to the old chieftain's body and offered it to the goblins. They initially hesitated silently, wondering what to do, but soon their greed overtook them, and they stepped forward. They began eating the raw meat without hesitation. Even though this meat once belonged to their leader, goblins have a simple nature. Those who have power are respected, and those who don't are expendable. These ruthless creatures were now part of our hero's quest for vengeance. Now that the ghost tribe was under his control, he planned to capture more female elves to create a more formidable ghost generation. What he didn't know was that someone was watching this scene, hiding behind the bushes. It was an elven scout who had been observing the ghost camp from the beginning. What he saw was very disturbing, and he decided to pass this information to the elven village.